Grade 12 Economics. Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Mhlongo. I'm back here with you on a revision session for Economics Paper 2. Our Paper 2, if you can remember, it consists of microeconomics as well as contemporary economic issues. So this lesson is mainly focusing on providing to you the structure of the question paper or the layout of the question paper, the distribution of questions and topics, as well as the training, where you will be trained on how you can achieve your target and on how you can attempt to answer the question paper in economics for both papers. Then the last part will be about providing some questions as for a practice to show you how you have to answer those kinds of questions from lower order to higher order, from section A, section B, up to section C. So please join me. Let's see what I'm having for you here. So the first part is the question paper layout. So it simply distributes to you how the question paper is laid out or structured. From your examination guideline that you have, this is the structure for the question paper. It includes both paper 1 and paper 2, but for today, the focus is on paper 2. So we have the following topics: microeconomics as the main topic, where you come across perfect markets, imperfect markets, as well as market failures. And then we have contemporary economic issues, where we discover the likes of inflation, tourism, and environmental sustainability. It is very important for you to remember that microeconomics can be found in section A, question 1. It will also be in question 2 under section B. It will also be in question 4, where it will be combined or mixed with economic issues. Then in section C, you can come across microeconomics in question number 5. And then economic issues can mainly be found in section A, as they are mixed with microeconomics. In section B, we come across economic issues. In question 3, they are all in there. The question is composed of economic issues. Question 4 combines both microeconomics as well as economic issues. And then question number 6 in section C, that's where we come across the essay from contemporary economic issues. So the details of the question paper. Remember, each question paper carries 150 marks, and the duration is 2 hours. It is very important for you to use your time efficiently to avoid ending the exam session without completing your your exam due to time. So each question paper comprises of 6 questions divided into 3 sections. We have section A, which is compulsory for every one of us. And it is very important for you to be reminded that you must not leave spaces in there. You need to answer all questions that are provided so that you can gain your confidence and approach the question paper in a good manner. Section B, there are 3 questions in there, namely question 2, question 3, and question 4, but you only choose 2 questions to answer. You don't answer everything in there. In section C, we have 2 questions, which is question 5 and question 6. Those are essays. You only choose 1 essay to answer out of 40 marks. Remember that your essay will consist of the introduction, body, under body we have main part and additional part, and then we have our conclusion. So our section A is out of 30 marks, and it is compulsory. Remember the importance of section A. If you can master section A, you go to section B already having backed enough marks in there. You keep on adding in your back. So it is very important that you master section A, because it will be giving you that confidence. It will also give you a simple score. If you leave spaces unattended in section A, you will find yourself losing marks, and you will find yourself struggling in section B, maybe in section C, and then you have forfeited marks unnecessarily in section A. You must avoid going to approach section A having your answers already, especially in the multiple choice. You need to synthesize all given statements together with provided option, then you choose the correct answer. Matching item column A and column B, it's 8 marks. And then in there, each answer is 1 mark. That's why we match items in there. Remember, if it happens that you get one answer wrong, it's highly possible that you will be getting 2 answers wrong. Because if you take an answer for 1.2.1 to 1.2.3, then 2 answers are wrong, you can end up getting 0. We've seen that happen. And then in 1.3, it's just the provision of the term or the concept. So in there, you need to really know your content so that you can provide the correct concept or term. You must avoid writing abbreviations or acronyms because they are unacceptable. So all in all, these will be giving you 30 marks. And then the distribution of topics, like I've mentioned before, question 1 consists of both the microeconomics as well as economic issues. Our question 2 is microeconomics only, where you come across topics like perfect market, imperfect market, and market failures. And then question number 3, that's contemporary economic issues, where you come across inflation topics, tourism topics, as well as environmental sustainability topics. In question number 4, it's a combination of both microeconomics as well as contemporary economic issues. And then our question 5 is microeconomics. Our question 6 is contemporary economic issues. So this structure is given so that you can remember your strength. You've been writing prelim, you also wrote June examination. You know where you are strong the most in paper 2. It is very important for you to know your strength and study to ensure that you master. If ever you are good in microeconomics, you must ensure that you know those graphs, you know the theory, you know explanation, you know calculations. It is very important for you to know that. And then if you are good in economic issues, it is also important for you to know those topics thoroughly. Because after all, you always have a choice on how to answer and which questions to answer in section B and section C. So this section consists of training on how you can approach the question paper, how to score more marks in section A under multiple choice. Read the statement with understanding and have an answer in your mind. After that, look for that answer within the 4 given options. So if we talk about 1.1, that's when you are given the question statement and 4 options from A up to from letter A to letter D. Then you have to choose the correct answer. It is very important for you, before you choose the answer, that you read the question statement with understanding. As you read that, before you look for the answer, you already provoke your mind to give you an answer. And then after that, you look for that answer in there. Be precise when choosing an answer, because between given options, one answer is correct and one answer is close and other one might be wrong. So some answers might be very much related. It is very important that you don't just get to be carried away. You need to ensure that you are very much precise as you choose the answer, because you will find yourself making a mistake by choosing the wrong answer, which is very related, while you are leaving the correct answer that you know. So it is very important for you to focus as you choose answers there. Do not guess an answer. Contextualize, classify, giving options to the statement. It is very important that you avoid guessing, because if you guess, it's highly possible that you get the answer wrong, because remember, we have 4 given options, so it is difficult to guess on given 4 options. You need to ensure that you synthesize, contextualize, and then you get the answer that is correct. Do not leave anything unattended. Provide all answers. We have seen that sometimes you candidates leave some spaces unattended in there with the hope that will come back and refill, only to find that the time is not on your side to leave spaces. So avoid doing that, because you lose marks unnecessarily. Do not write one answer on top of another answer. It is very important to avoid writing an answer on top of another answer. For instance, maybe initially the answer was C, and then you notice that C might be wrong. You simply write B. So this is not clear now. You must ensure that you scratch the wrong answer, scratch it, and then you write B on the side, so that your answer will be clear. And also avoid giving options to the marker. For instance, you say A or B. This is now wrong. You need to provide one answer, because we're giving more options. You can't be giving options and you also provide options back. Then remember, this consists of 16 marks. And then we continue with the section A. Matching items, 1.2. Remember, it's 8 marks. Look at the column A concept and try to derive the answer before looking at the column B description. Then match the correct answer. It is very important that before you choose the correct answer, you read the statement in column A with understanding. Then you have an idea on what you should be looking for. Then you just go there and pick what is supposed to be taken. Use the elimination method by matching answers that you are sure they are correct. Firstly, it is very important for you to use elimination method. Start with those answers that you believe they are correct. Because if you simply go from 1.2.1 to 1.2.8, while you know that you are not sure of a certain answer in the middle there, you will end up writing one answer that is wrong, which answer that belongs somewhere, you write it somewhere, then you have two answers wrong. So you need to eliminate. Start with what you know. Maybe you know 1.2.1, 1.2.2, 1.2.4, 1.2.6. Start with those answers. Then after, go back and synthesize thoroughly to see which answers are clearly correct on the remaining options. It is very important that you do that, because the failure to do that, you will end up getting 0. It is highly possible, trust me. Then look for, look at answers that are confusing you. Do not guess as yet. Relate and make sense. Find commonality. It is very important for you on the remaining option. Maybe you have 4 remaining options. You don't just go and pick any answer. You try to relate and link them. Once you link them correctly, then you can be able to get all of those remaining answers correct and leave the one that is unrelated out. After eliminating, you surely have few options remaining. Relate again until you have one column B response remaining, which is expected to be wrong. Remember, there's one option that is wrong in there, then it must be left out because you can't answer on it, which is a part of A up to I. It is very important that you remember that it's highly possible that choosing one wrong answer in this part result to 2 wrong answers. Like I mentioned, if you choose the answer for 1.2.1, you put it in 1.2.3, then you have 2 answers wrong. So in that case, you will end up getting even 0 score. So ensure that you avoid it. Do not leave any question or option in column A unmatched. You must match all options. So what is the problem that we are having? So the main thing is that you candidates are lacking skills to score marks efficiently. You are not regularly trained. You study, but then you find that you have studied, but you don't have enough skill to score marks. You know answers, but you can't arrange them in an order that can allow you to score marks. For instance, some of you writing paragraphs instead of writing in point forms. That also is a mistake that we do. You must ensure that if ever we are given a discussion question, you use point form. Also, you must also look at the mark allocation. Avoid having 2 marks given in the question, you answer the half a page. That will be wrong, because we are taking more time unnecessarily since the answer worth only 2 marks. If ever the answer is 8 marks, we find that we are not giving enough points. Even if you give points, you list. Avoid doing that. If the question says briefly discuss or how so and so can do such, you must explain in full sentences and ensure that your points are enough to score maximum marks. Do not just write 1 point and expect to get 8 marks. Candidate copy extract as they answer some data response related question. It is very important for you to know that on the given data response in section B, you can only get lower order answers in there, even though they can be there, but it's not guaranteed that they can all be there. Those 2, like for instance, in question 2, we have the 2.2.1, 2.2.2. Those are 1 marks questions that can be found in the extract if possible, but they can also not be found by being the lower order. Avoid copying the extract, because if you copy the extract, you are getting it wrong deliberately. It is rare, and it's impossible, by the way, for the examiner to ask you a question that will be from the data response directly. You need to synthesize data response, and then you need to evaluate. Then you can be able to answer questions, because some of them become critical. Candidate cannot link concept as desired in questions. It is very important that if ever you are given the question, maybe the how question, the make order, we are able to link the concept in there. For instance, How can the increase in inflation affect the demand for goods and services? You need to link, you have a background knowledge now. You have knowledge about inflation. We have the knowledge about the demand for goods and services as the inflation increase. Then you link that, then you connect, you give the answer. It is very important that you are able to link. Even action verbs are very important for you to master and to link them to those nouns that are provided. Candidates do not answer based on mark allocation, like I said. You find that an answer is only 2 marks, you answer half a page. That is unfair. Or the answer require 8 marks, you answer in 2 sentences. That is wrong. You need to ensure that you look at mark allocation before you answer the question. Candidates are challenged by requirements of 8 marks questions. It is very important to know this one. This one is very important because if you can lose these 2 8 marks per question in section B, that means you are already working out of 24 marks. So it is very important for you to master on this one. You must improve yourself when answering 8 marks questions, either 0.5 or 0.4. It is very important for you to be able to answer accordingly. Besides having the content, it is important for you to understand the question and then you answer in point form and provide enough points in full sentences, because if you list where you are supposed to discuss, you will only get the maximum of 2 marks. It is very important for you to choose very smart in section B. If you have to choose the question in section B, you must be very smart, because in there we are given 3 questions, question 2, 3, and 4. Given those questions, you need to work on the given 10 minutes as you are having your question paper. It is very important for you to go through those questions, 3 of them, checking which one can give you more marks. That's when you apply what we call an opportunity cost, where you leave a certain question because you know it won't give you more score, and then you choose the one that will be giving you more marks. So ensure that you apply that principle of opportunity cost. So step 1, first 4 marks questions help you for ice breaking. That, for instance, we talk about 2.1.1, 2.1.2. 2.1.1 is a lower order. So it is believed that you know those answers because you simply remember and provide. 2.1.2, that's where now it's a mixed order. We need to link. It is very important for you to ensure that you get those marks because they are mainly there to give you confidence. Step 2, read the first data response question while highlighting main points, then read questions. The higher are the achievable marks, the greater is an advantage for you to choose the question. It is very important that as you read the data response, you make some highlights in there, you annotate, so that if you go in there to questions, you will find that whatever you've highlighted maybe is a part of answers. Then after, check in those questions if you will be, how many marks are you going to be able to accumulate in there. After that, you move to the next. Read the second data response while underlining main points, then read questions. Then if ever you find that you have more marks to achieve in there, that is giving you advantage to choose that main question also. Calculating your guaranteed marks is the major technique to make a right choice. It is very important that before you choose the question, you calculate marks that you believe you will achieve. Then you will make a choice based on the marks that you think you will be able to achieve. Read your first 8 mark question with understanding and arrange your answers. Calculate possible marks, then you will, that you think you will achieve. Read your second 8 mark question with understanding and arrange your answers, then calculate again. After that, you are done with that question, maybe question 2. You can get to know how many marks do you think you will achieve. Then you go to question 3, you go to question 4. After that, you see which one is believed to be giving you, that will be giving you more score. Then you choose that particular question, and then you check the one that will be giving you a better score, you choose it. Then you leave another one that you believe will be giving you even less score. It is very important for you to be able to use that strategy before you choose the question. Calculate all marks and move to the next question. Until then, you are it out, then you start writing. Understand the question before attempting to answer. So how to approach the question paper. It is very important for you to answer because you understand. Don't just answer the question without understanding the question statement or the question itself. Avoid early excitement. We know that you come across the question being easy, especially in section C. You'll find that the question is all about maybe features underpinning forecasting. I'm making an example with that one because I've seen it before, where people were catched by very early excitement, but then they got it wrong. The question simply says discuss all features underpinning forecasting, excluding indicators. And then the first answer is leading indicators, then that's a problem. It's very important for you to ensure that you understand the question with, you read question with understanding before attempting to answer. Do not look at one concept, then you fly, only to find that everything will be right and will be wrong. Also, you find that the question is seeking you to discuss markets, maybe. Let's say we are talking about paper one, market in the circular flow. You then decide to discuss participants. It is very important for you to be very careful. We have seen also candidates writing a reason for public, objectives of the public sector instead of reasons for public sector failure. So avoid doing those things. These easy questions are a problem because you get to be excited and then you forfeit marks. Create an essay structure that can assist you to remember subheading. So it is very important for you to have your own structure that will assist you to remember subheading. Then you can be able to discuss easily. Make a structure for each subheading by listing components to discuss, like the mind map. It is very important that you work on the mind map for each subheading in your essay so that you will simply remember on which points are basically on each subheading. You will simply master your essay, especially on the main part. Provide all information correct and relevant for each subheading to get maximum marks. You just provide information, then you also look at time, and then you look at the mark allocation per that subheading. We continue with the approaching the question paper. In case marks are allocated per subheading, save time and provide information appropriate to allocated marks. For instance, let's say the subheading is for 8 marks, then you cannot simply answer and write the full page for 8 marks. It is very important to be smart and look at mark allocation. Understand the additional part question before attempting to answer. Do not just go and answer. Understand it, and then you can arrange your answers, then you can start answering. Write in full sentences. Remember that mere listing is awarded a maximum of 2 marks. If you list where you have to discuss or analyze or evaluate, you will only get 2 marks. So be fair to yourself, avoid listing, write in full sentences with pure explanation. Make use of IMAC essay structure to ensure that you attempt all aspects of an essay. Remember, IMAC, we talk about introduction, a main part, and then additional part as well as conclusion. Always remember to use the structure so that you can always answer all questions that are there in your essay. Your essay conclusion should not repeat any information written in the body of the essay. You can conclude using both main part and additional part, but if you like, you can only use main part conclusion or additional part conclusion. As long as it is not information repeated, it should be the higher order response. Remember, you must answer that part in a higher order. Be critical in this. So how can you reach your target? I believe that already now you know your year mark or final mark for the whole year. You know your mark out of 100, you know your mark out of 850, converted to 100, and then converted to 25. Now, you need to ensure that you have a clear target. So you must set a clear target as a candidate so that you will you put up efforts that are relevant to the target you have set. Always study according to your targeted mark. You can't be targeting to achieve level 7, then you spend less time to study the subject. It is very important for you to, as you plan your target, and then you start according to the target. Know your final SBA mark or year mark. It is very important that you know this mark. Out of 850, converted to 100, converted to 25, because that will be giving you confidence and a clue on how you should be putting yourself under pressure. But if you don't know it, then you will just behave as if everything is normal, while there are things that are abnormal in your life about economics. Calculate the mark out of 850 and convert them to 25%. Note example below, which indicates the weightings per task. So this indicates how marks are allocated. If you can check here, we had control test. We had assignment in term 1, which was out of 50, and then a control test in term 1, which was out of 100. That gave us 150. And then we had 50 marks for term 2. And then for which was the project, we had 150 for paper 1 and 150 for paper 2. The sum of this gave us 100. Then you're working out of 350 in term 2. In term 3, you have just had you had what you call the case study for 50 marks, and then you had 150 paper 1, 150 paper 2. Then it gives you what you call 300. Then all in all, you work out of 350 again. And then after that, you add them on these marks, they give you 850. So you're working out of 850. And then as you are doing that, it is very important for you to know your mark in economics, be able to convert it to 100 and also convert it to 25. And then you can ask your teacher to assist you with the conversions. And then for examination, you are just working out of 300. Remember, each paper is 150 marks, 150 marks. So the exam will be converted to 75%. It is very important for you to know that from now on, you are working out of 75%, and then awaiting is your 25% that you have already covered in your SPA mark. So keep that in your mind and work according to your target. And also note that if ever you achieved level 1 in your year mark, you must work even harder. Level 2, you must work very hard. Actually, all of you must work hard because you don't know what will happen in the examination. Just prepare yourself, study thoroughly, have a working method. And then reaching your target, let's see, you had this again. I've just highlighted on this where in term 1 it was the 2 term 2, this 350 term 3, 350, it gives you 850. Then we convert this to what we call it to 25%. You get your mark out of 25 for the year, and then awaiting is your 75%. Then we move forward. So, and then let's check. This learner has 19.4 marks as a year mark out of 25. So, and then let's check. The learner should achieve a minimum of 244 out of 300 to achieve level 7. And then let's check. And then you calculate your mark out of 850 and convert the mark to 25%. Note example, Mhlomo got 300 mark out of 850. So let's see what Mhlomo did in the conversion. We have 300 over 850 times 25. Then you get your 8.8%. So out of 25%, you only have 8.8. So that means you have to work hard for you to achieve at least level 2 in your examination. Mhlomo is struggling. He is in level 1. And then Mhlomo gets 45 marks in paper 1 and 59 in paper 2. So we add them. And then this adds up to 104. Mhlomo is having 104 out of 300. So let's see if Mhlomo will be able to escape level 1. And then convert 104 to 75. So 104 over 300 times 75 is 26%. Then you take this 20% plus this 8.8%, then Mhlomo is able to escape, because if we say SBA mark is 8.8%, exam mark is 20%, then which is 8.8 plus 26, it gives us 34.8. Mhlomo escape level 1. So that simply means it is easy for you to escape level 1. I don't know what becomes a challenge, because really, now you know your year mark. You need to work according to that so that you can achieve the mark that you desire to escape level 1, and also to achieve the target that you have set for yourself. Level 1 has been eliminated. It is very important for us to eliminate level 1s. Please, candidates, you need to be smart. This should not be our problem. Our problem should be achieving level 5 going up. But because you study inefficiently, or you study the day before examination, you don't have a formula to study, you only peruse your pages, hoping that things will be flying into your mind. It doesn't work like that. You must have a formula to study. In case you choose to study during the examination, you will be frustrated for the longer period of time because you are not used to studying. You are always lucky to simply open the book and then you know some of the things, then you go for examination. Remember, this time around, your exam won't be marked by your educator. It will be marked by the unknown person, not your teacher. So for that sake, no one will be doing favors for you in case your teacher was having some favors for you so that you could pass. It is very important for you to know that. So you must push yourself very hard so that you can achieve the mark that you are willing to achieve. So knowing your target has helped a lot. Mhlomo was able to escape level 1 because he knew his target, he knew his year mark. That has assisted for him to add more effort on studying, which allowed him to get 34.8 instead of getting level 1. So it is very important for you to be very much clear about your target, know your year mark, know your SPA mark out of 25%, and then plan for the examination. Let me tell you something. In case you believe you are not what you call it, a tool, or you cannot win in economics, you are not good in economics, let me tell you, you can be good in these remaining days. As long as you know your target, you know your mark that you qualified with as for examination, you can just be good. We are working out of 75% now. Nothing is broken. We are done with 25. We have 75 remaining. That is a lot. So you can still master in there and knock off examination. So please, nothing is broken. It is not yet over. Please put your effort. Believe in yourself. Study enough. Ask for assistance. For that sake, then I believe you will never have a problem in economics and you will enjoy it in last minute. So we continue with approaching the question paper. Read each question with understanding before attempting to answer. Avoid any excitement, like I've said before. Ensure that you understand everything. Do not guess in section A. It is very important for you not to do that. Read data response with understanding while highlighting important information and contextualize it. Improve your ability to link, because the question paper requires most of application lately. It's not mainly about explain, discuss. It's all about linking, and it mostly of practical question papers that we come across lately. Be smart when answering application questions. Ensure that you understand the links between those given concepts and verbs in there. Answer in full sentences on questions that require explanation. Do not just this, because that will lead to you losing marks. We continue with approaching the question paper. Let the mark allocation determine the time that you should spend on each subheading or on each question. Avoid leaving open spaces in section A or in all sections basically. And then, avoid answering all 3 questions in section B. If you answer 3 questions, what do we do in marking? We only choose the first 2 questions. So it is very important for you to avoid, in section B, to avoid answering all questions. Remember, the instruction says, on the given 3 options, answer only 2. Answer only 2, because if you answer 3, the marker will mainly mark the first 2 and leave the last one. Also in section C, avoid answering both questions. Answer only 1, because we are given 2 options. You must answer 1 question. Avoid answering both questions in section C, like I've just mentioned. Answer 1 question according to the instructions. Be able to analyze and interpret graphs, cartoons, extract tables and data in section B, data response. It is very important that you are able to interpret and work on data response questions that include graphs, paragraphs that can be given, extract cartoons, etc. The study strategy. It is very important that you have a working study strategy for you to knock off the exam. Remember, if you can count down, I believe you have very few days remaining. If I'm not mistaken, it's 18 days remaining before we get to our examination as for our paper 1 on the 31st of October. Allocate study time according to your performance and your target. You can't be targeting 80%, then you study for 30 minutes. It is not going to work for you, even if you are a machine. Economics require more study because these questions are complex. Study and assess yourself before using previous question paper. It is very important that you set your own strategy to answer questions. You set questions for yourself as you study. Thereafter, go to previous question papers. You answer, then you look at the memorandum to see if you manage to win it. Make use of examination guidelines while studying. It is very important that you use examination guidelines so that you can understand what should you do as you approach the question. Some of you are not even aware of the list of essays we are having. That's why when I come here, I always ensure that I provide the list of essays that you must look at, because it is very important for you to know which subtopic in each topic is a part of an essay so that you can prepare yourself on time. Use NSC assessment tools to evaluate your study outcome. That means I'm talking about question papers as well as memorandums or marking guidelines. You must use them. Let your study expose your content weaknesses. Do not be frustrated, but use your winning method. It is very important that you find the winning method that you can use. In case you are frustrated, consult your educators. They will assist you so that you knock it down. If you are struggling, focus on one main topic between microeconomics and contemporary economic issues and study it thoroughly. But do not leave out the second topic, because you need it for section A and half of section, of question 4 in section B. So normally, you find that you are in level 1 and you are really struggling to win in there. It will be difficult for you at this time to study all of these topics in paper 2. You must look at your strength. If ever you are good in economic issues, ensure that you study economic issues thoroughly, because that will allow you to answer question 3 in full and then question 4. Then do not leave the micro aside. Also do the micro, because we have a question 4, which is the combination. And then you also have a section A, which combine everything. But really with this time, if you see that you are really struggling and you are frustrated, you even wish not to write economics, but you must write it. Ensure that you capitalize on those topics that you believe you are good at. And then that will be giving you what you need, because guaranteed, you know that the micro will be having question 2 in full, will be having question 4 as a part of the half, will be having question 5. That will allow you to pass the question paper, because also you have 15 marks allocated for micro in your section A. So look at your strength, know where you are strong, focus on that thoroughly. Do not leave things in that section that you are choosing, and then after you go for examination. Trust me, you will thank me later. But if you want to do everything while you know that you are struggling at level 1, it will be difficult for you to cover. Instead, you will be frustrated and end up losing everything. So what if I'm struggling as a candidate? I don't know what to do. So there is not enough time to study everything. Remember, level 1 learner, do your microeconomics topics thoroughly and pass your paper. And then you can also, if you are good in in your in your economic issues or economic pursuit, you work on that. So for paper 1, just work on micro. Macro is most accessible for you. If you see that you are struggling, work on macro, or if you are good in pursuit, work on pursuit thoroughly, and then you go for the question paper, will escape level 1. And then do microeconomics topic thoroughly, and pass your paper 2. It is very easy. You can just, like I've said, work on your micro thoroughly, and then you just go around economic issues. You will pass your question paper. And the majority of you are doing tourism. So obviously, we have a topic that we call tourism. It comes as maybe as a good reliever for you, because you know the topic very much broad than the way we teach in economics here. Level 2, remember, you must get 45 over 150 in your paper 2, including paper 1, for you to get level 2. Get the minimum of 25 in section A to escape level 1. You can't be getting 2 in section A and think you will pass. It's very difficult for you to win in that strategy. Ensure that you capitalize on section A, then move to section B and C to collect some marks in there. You will escape that level that is challenging. So the following are some lower order questions as examples of our training today. This is section B. Name any 2 criteria that can be used to measure tourism. It is very important for you to look at this. It says 2 times 1, meaning there are 2 answers that should be provided, each answer worth 1 mark. So that will be guiding you on number of answers to be provided. Avoid listing a long list while you only have to provide 2 answers. There should be a purpose for a visit. So if you visit an area, you must have a certain purpose. There must be no payment or remuneration as you tour. You must just tour without having any expectation of a payment. Minimum length of a stay should be at least 1 night. And then maximum length of the stay should not be more than a year. You can't be staying over a year or more than a year, then expect that is tourism. No, it's no longer tourism in that case. Traveling distance should exceed 160 kilometers. So meaning, if you are traveling below 160, it's not a tourism at the time, according to the criteria of tourism. We continue with some questions. Give 2 examples of explicit cost for a firm or for a business. And then remember, explicit costs are costs that are shown in there, that we call them operating costs for the business. We talk about the rent, interest, wages in there. They are well known, these costs for the business. Give any 2 measures of inflation. Remember, we talk of the 4 indexes, CPI and PPI. We talk about weighting. There was a question on weighting in your higher order, on your on your prelim paper 2 for housing. Yeah, that worked on you thoroughly. And then inflation target is also a part of it, GDP deflator. And then we continue. Another example, name any 2 bodies responsible for regulating competition in South Africa. Remember, you have 3 of them, namely Competition Commission, and then Competition Tribunal, as well as the Competition Appeals Court. It is very important also for you to know their function. 3 of them, what do they do? Remember, Commission does the primary investigation on alleged anti-competitive practices on firms. After that, they discover those findings and try to put together the report and suggest the fine, then information will be sent straight to committing tribunal. Tribunal will have to do its own investigation on the given findings and then discover if the firm is indeed guilty or not guilty of misconduct. After that, it will find the firm is guilty. And then that means if the firm is guilty, like mentioned by the what you call the commission, it will have to accept findings by the commission and then finalize the fine, and the firm will be charged. If ever the firm is not happy with the fine or with the entire outcome, the firm has a right to appeal to the Commission Appeals Court. Remember, Appeals Court function as a high court for the competition in South Africa. So firms have that right to appeal if ever the decision is against them and they're unhappy, they believe that it's unethical. They can appeal. Then the appeal court will do its own investigation and discover findings to see if the firm is indeed guilty or not guilty of misconduct. Then if ever the firm is not guilty, founded by the appeals court, the fine or charges will be dropped and the fine will be withdrawn. But if the firm is guilty indeed, then the charges will be retained. Mention two types of oligopoly. Remember, in there were pure oligopoly and differentiated oligopoly. Pure oligopoly is an oligopoly that produces homogeneous product. Differentiated oligopoly is the one that produces differentiated product. Then we continue. Give any two examples of consumer inflation. Remember, we have about 4. So we have CPI inflation or headline inflation. Remember that this is inflation or consumer inflation that has not been adjusted. It has an effect of mortgage bond or interest. And then we have CPI inflation. This is the inflation that has been adjusted. It does not have effect of mortgage bond. So that simply indicates you that CPI inflation is always more than CPIX inflation because CPI is unadjusted, right? CPIX has been adjusted. And then core inflation. Core inflation is the inflation that excludes goods and services that are having highly volatile prices. If we talk of volatile prices, we talk about prices that can increase and decrease anytime. So they don't just remain constant. For instance, we talk about the price of a red meat, the price of a fuel. They increase anytime. So they're excluded if we deal with the core inflation, meaning the core inflation is being adjusted. And then we have administered inflation. This is the inflation that prevails because of the government intervention. When the state intervened by setting some prices for some goods and services, the inflation that prevails in there is known as administered inflation. Give 2 examples of variable costs. Remember, variable costs are costs that changes with that change with the output. If ever we produce more goods and services now, variable costs will be increasing. If we produce less, variable costs will be decreasing. Compared to fixed costs, fixed costs are costs that do not change with the output. Doesn't matter how much you produce in terms of goods and services or the quantity, but the fixed cost remains constant. So we have water, we have electricity. And then we have transport cost or distribution cost, listing the few. Then we go to section B, middle order, where we have to link now. How does climate change negatively affect the economy? So we are talking about climate change negatively affecting the economy. It is very important for you to note these things that have been highlighted here. So how does climate change negatively? It is very important. You must not just answer the question without noticing this negatively. And then also the economy, not the society, the economy. We are talking about the economy. How does climate change negatively affect the economy? Let's look at the possible answer. Shifting in weather patterns will threaten food production, increasing the prices of goods and services. We know that if ever weather patterns are changing against the production in the agricultural sector, that will lead to less crop production and less harvest. For that sake, there will be less harvest and less production under agriculture. That will lead to higher prices because there will be a lower productivity in that case. Rising sea levels would cause freshwater reserves to be contaminated, killing fish in the process. So animals that are found in water will be dying because of what we call rising sea levels, as well as contamination. Floods caused by heavy rain threaten human lives, causing erosion and desertification. So because of floods, that will mean it will be causing erosion. That means whatever that has been planted in there is not going to grow. It will be destroyed. Then there will be a bad effect to the economy because of that. Temperatures rise, causing the spread of pests and diseases. So if ever temperatures are rising very, very fast, based on the economy response, that will lead to the death of crops. That will lead to less harvest. that will lead to less production within the agricultural sector, leading also to the death of livestock under farming, and that will affect the economy in the bad way. And then we continue. Why will the entrepreneur stay in the business when the firm is making zero economic profit? Remember, we are talking about the normal profit in this case. If the firm is making or operating at a normal profit, why will the entrepreneur decide to stay? Remember, in this case, the firm is losing nothing. Whatever that was used to produce, the capital remains after all as a part of what we call revenue. So we inject 50 million, we receive 50 million after all. There is no loss or either a profit. We are breaking even. The firm will still be able to pay its average variable cost, and the entrepreneur might still be enjoying the implicit benefits. Why is it difficult for the free market to ensure environmental sustainability? Remember, the market, if we talk of the free market, we talk about the market itself, the private sector. It is difficult for the market to ensure environmental sustainability because the market always see what the environment as a common resource to create wealth. So remember that if ever the market try to reduce the production, in order to reduce emissions or pollution, that will lead to less revenues earned by the business. But if the firm or the market increase the production, that will lead to more revenues. So as they see the environment as a common resource, they over extract resources to ensure that they get even more revenues. Free markets have free access to resources, and this leads to over exploitation of resources because they are rushing profits. Free markets foster inequality and poverty, and these social ills put pressure on the environment. Free market respond to demand for goods and services, and its priorities, profit maximization. The main aim is to maximize the profit. They don't care about what happens in the environment. They only comply to the government if ever they have to buy marketable permits, if ever they have to pay what we call the cap tax or green taxes or environmental taxes. They just comply, but they know the main aim is to achieve the profit. We continue. How can the tourism sector help to reduce poverty among the local people in community? Remember that if ever in the local community there is there are some attractions, people of the area will find it easy to establish their own informal businesses. People of the area will be able to be employed because tourism is labor intensive. It also employs all levels of labor. It doesn't mainly require skills, but people learn within the job to attain those skills. For instance, we talk about people working in restaurants, accommodations and hotels, attractions, etc. So if ever there's an attraction in the area, there will be some developments also that will be allowing people to be employed, which will allow them to escape poverty because they will be earning income. Some will be starting some businesses for themselves, then they will be earning living. Local unemployed people can earn income by supplying goods and services to tourists. And then informal sector local business are established, which become a source of income. Local small business can easily form partnership with formal businesses to supply their products. Why would high inflation lead to retrenchment in the workplace? If ever there's high level of inflation, remember what happens. If there's high inflation, trade unions start to negotiate better salaries for their members. If ever they want to get higher wages, sometimes businesses or companies, organizations find it difficult to increase the wage level for all employees. Then they choose to increase the wage, but then it will be accompanied by what? By retrenchment, because the firm will find it difficult to pay for all workers due to the increase in labor cost. Then people end up losing jobs. Also, because of less demand, the other demand decline caused by high level of inflation, that can lead to firms deciding to produce less goods because there's also what we call less demand. Then some workers must be laid off. They must be returned because there is no need for them in the company. Higher inflation would result to lower production, where businesses require less labor. Lower demand for goods and services become a disincentive for businesses to produce more, which decreases the demand for labor. And then how can the appreciation of South African rand against US dollar affect international tourism? If our rand is appreciating, meaning it's getting to be strong, remember if the currency rand appreciate, it can be in this fashion. The rand maybe was initially 18 rand 50 is to 1 US dollar, and then after it goes to 12 rand equals to 1 US dollar. So it becomes strong here, it appreciates. That means we need to pay less to afford a single dollar. That will lead to us South Africans finding it easy to US because US dollar is mostly affordable. But it will be difficult for US tourists to tour to South Africa because now their currency has depreciated, so they need to pay more for them to afford South African rand, which will be of a disincentive to them. The appreciation of the South African rand can make US dollar more affordable to South Africans. Cheap US dollar can result to more South Africans touring to US. There will be a decline in US tourists to South Africa because of their depreciated currency, meaning they will have to pay more to afford South African rand, which will be leading to the tour to South Africa from US becoming more expensive. So there will be a decline in that kind of a tourism. Then we have a data response, some examples of data response. Study the table below and answer questions that follow. So in this case, we are dealing with revenues, the cost and revenues. You can check where the price remains constant here, the quantity from 5 to 20, and then total revenues. Remember to calculate total revenue, we say TR equals to P times Q. So then we get this because we said 10 times 5 is 50, 10 times 10 is 100 up to infinity. And then total cost. And then there we go. We have from 30 up to 300. And then profit and loss. Then there's a space in here. If you see the space like this, that means you must work on calculations. This is a cost and revenues analysis on the table. Which market structure can this cost and revenues be associated with? Then that's a perfect market or perfect competition. It's one mark. At what level of output will the firm be making a normal profit? Remember, a normal profit occurs when the firm's average costs are equal to the average revenue, or when the firm's total costs are equal to the firm's total revenues. That is 15. Briefly describe the term total revenue. That means total revenue is the total income received from the sale of goods and services when price is multiplied by the quantity. Then we continue. Why does the above market profit disappear in the long run? Remember that in the perfect market, there's a free entry of new businesses, as much as new firms are free to leave the market. So if ever number of firms increase in the long run, that will lead to the profit that was enjoyed by businesses disappearing to or declining to normal profits because of the increase in competition. The entry of new firms increase the perfect market competition, which decrease the sales for individual firms. Short-run profit attract new rival firms. Calculate the profit or loss in B from the table above for all calculations. Total revenue minus total cost. How do we go about? We say 200 minus 300, and then that gives us negative 100. Then the firm is making economic loss because total costs were greater than total revenues. And then here you are given inflation. Start the graph below and answer questions that follow. Inflation rate in South Africa. And then we have our inflation rate on the side here from 4% to 6.5%. Remember, our inflation target ranges between 3 to 6%. If ever it goes above 6%, there is a problem. The government and the Reserve Bank must intervene to combat inflation. We have 2020, 2021 and 2022, and then adapted from the Google. So you can check the rate of inflation according to this, and then until you get there. And then let's check the possible questions. Identify the inflation rate in the second quarter of 2020. It was 4.5%. What is the inflation target set by South African Reserve Bank in South Africa? Our inflation target is between 3 to 6%. It was set by the Reserve Bank in year 2000. And then briefly describe the term demand pull inflation. This is the inflation that occurs when there is too much money chasing few goods, meaning it occurs when the aggregate demand increases faster than aggregate supply in the economy. That causes the cost push inflation. And then explain the effect of a higher inflation rate to poor people. We know that if inflation is too high, people that are poor or marginalized find themselves not affording basic goods and services. So they will find themselves living within absolute poverty because they don't have enough income to afford goods and services. So if ever inflation increases excessively, those people with a stable income or with no income at all find themselves not affording basic goods for living. Goods and services become more expensive and unaffordable for the poor. the poor may not be able to satisfy their needs and wants, leading to an absolute poverty and low standard of living. Why is deflation bad for the economy? Remember, if we talk of deflation, we refer to the significant decrease in general price level. So if ever we have a deflation, that's when now inflation will be below 3%, for instance, in South Africa. That is bad for producers. It is bad for the economy because remember, producers are some of the role players in the economy. So if goods are becoming too cheap, they are discouraged to produce. You'll find that the input costs are very, very high because remember that as much as what we call it, the labor cost remains there or remains high. If ever there's a deflation, it does not go down with the inflation, it remains high. So it will be difficult for firms to adjust down the labor cost or to adjust down wages and salaries. So that is bad for the economy because business find themselves not benefiting. Some of them decide to withdraw their investments because economy doesn't benefit them anymore. You find that they borrowed capital from commercial banks. When they borrowed capital, maybe at the fixed interest rate, which is very, very high, and then deflation boom comes in. They still pay more returns on that capital they borrowed, only to find that they are making minimum returns on revenue. So that becomes bad for the economy. It becomes a bad environment for investors. They withdraw their investments. Deflation discourages producers and results to investments. Excessive decrease in prices has an effect of excessive demand and the market shortages. So if ever there's deflation, people or consumers will be demanding even more goods and services. So there will be more demand than the supply. And then in that case, there will be a shortage of goods in the market. Producers will be discouraged to produce, there will be less goods available while consumers are demanding even more goods and services. High fixed costs such as labor can cause economic loss for businesses during deflation because remember I've mentioned that the level of fixed cost like labor cost remains high for the given period remains at the same level for the given period of time while the deflation occurs. They will be making extremely economic loss because they cannot adjust some of the costs. Also the rent, if they're renting a place, they chose the place because they estimated revenue. So with the deflation they find themselves now having to pay more money for rent while their revenues are evenly low. So it's bad for the economy, the deflation. It can be at the advantage of consumers for the short run, but it's bad for the economy. Here we are giving externalities. So we have our demand, which is D and D1. Remember, this demand is marginal private benefit, MPB, and then this one is marginal, social benefit. And then we have our supply there. The graph in here indicates what we call the positive externality as mentioned in there, because we can see that maybe government intervened by training people in the area so that they could be more marketable, and then people are marketable, then they are able to get jobs. Then as people are employed, they demand even more goods and services. So as they demand goods and services, the demand increases more than the supply because the supply remains constant. The quantity supplied remained at 100, and then the quantity demanded goes to 200. Then this causes the market failure because the market is then now under supplying the product because the supply is only at 100 while the demand is above, which is 200. This causes the market failure. That's why the price is adjusted up due to the fact that the demand is increasing more than the supply. This is the positive externality, and this area indicates what we call the social benefit, private benefit, internal benefit, positive externality, and then welfare gain also. Let's look at questions in here. Identify the curve that represents marginal private benefit on the graph above. So it was the original demand, like I labeled it. And then name the economic concept represented by the shaded area on the graph above. So it indicates this concept. It can be positive externality, external benefit, social benefit, and then welfare gain. Briefly describe the term minimum wage. So we know that that's the lowest wage that that businesses can pay their employees. So it's a way that no worker should be paid below in the organization. And that is legislated by the government to ensure that there is a fair distribution of income and wealth, and also labor is not exploited. Minimum wage is the lowest wage legislated by the government that no worker should be paid below. Then we continue. Why are merit goods such as education and healthcare undersupplied in the market? We know that merit goods contain positive externality. We know that people are not willing to pay for merit goods, but they need them. So they have this social wellness. If ever one can access them, there will be social welfare. So people are not willing to pay for them. Then the market, remember, it only produces and supply goods that are highly desirable in the market. So if people are not willing to pay for these goods and services in the market, then the market undersupply them. That's when the government intervened by making the supply of these goods because they are highly desirable for social welfare. However, people are not willing to pay for them. They want to accept them for free. Then the market decide to undersupply because the market only produce and supply goods that are demanded. They only produce goods for those who can afford. Those who cannot afford are not catered for in those goods and services because the market works on achieving the profit. Merit goods are highly desirable for social welfare, but people are not willing to pay for them. It is difficult for the market to determine external benefit obtained from merit goods, thus resulting to high external cost. How do maximum price affect the market? Remember, if we talk of the maximum price, we are referring to what we call the price ceiling, the price that are set by the government to be below the market equilibrium. If ever the state intervened by setting the price to be below equilibrium, we're trying to ensure that goods are highly affordable in the society or in the economy. That will discourage producers to produce more of that particular product because there will be less revenues. Producers are always discouraged to produce the product if ever it's too cheap. Therefore, there will be undersupply while there will be excessive demand. It will cause the market shortage. Maximum price result to market shortage. Lowest price discourage producers and cause undersupply, which creates community and collective goods. So, in case the market is undersupplying the product because the government have set the maximum price or price ceilings, that will lead to government intervening to produce those goods and services for the society through maybe they can be community goods which is free of charge, or they can be collective goods that are supplied through user charges. And then we have the middle order for 8 marks in here. Example, use a graph of total cost and total revenue and explain the profit maximization under a perfect market. So this is the graph that we are supposed to draw. In case we have to draw the graph on TC and TR, you simply draw this graph. For indicating profit maximization is 2 marks, total revenue correct is 1 mark, total cost is 1 mark. Remember, point A in there indicates the normal profit. Point B also indicate normal profit because TC equals to TR. So they are both equal in point A and point B. Then that means the firm is making normal profit or is breaking even. However, the firm maximizes its profit at this point. It maximizes its profit where what we call it, total cost further away from total revenue. This is the point and the quantity of 4 where the firm maximizes total revenue because the total cost further away or is far away from the total revenue. So the firm will make profit between point A and point B. The firm will be making a profit between point A and point B in between, and then the profit let's say the firm will make a profit between point A and point B, total revenue and total cost, where the total revenue exceeds total cost. Yes, and then profit is maximized when the gap between TR and TC is the greatest or far away. This occurs at point 4, at 4 units of production at cost of 40. So this is our 40, and then the quantity is 4. Then the firm is maximizing the profit. Break even occurs at point A and point B. So you can see the firm is breaking even or making a normal profit. That's how you should be explaining if ever you are given a chance to draw this graph. And then we continue to differentiate between environmental taxes and marketable permits. So we go straight to environmental sustainability. If we talk about environmental taxes, we refer to the green taxes that are imposed on greenhouse emissions that are caused by businesses as they produce goods and services. Remember, when firms are producing, they expose or they burn fossil fuels which damages environment and cause air pollution. For that sake, the state intervened by doing what? By charging environmental taxes. Marketable permits, in this case, we refer to licenses that are issued by the government under Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to ensure that firms are causing pollution as they produce to the certain extent or certain degree. However, in this case, if firm is having more permits, it has the right to sell its permits or marketable permits to other businesses. Environmental taxes are taxes imposed on output of goods that generate external environmental cost. These are called green taxes or cap taxes that they are imposed on greenhouse gases of greenhouse emission. Carbon dioxide emission from wineries and vehicle tires are taxed. The tax rate is equal to the marginal external cost. Marketable permits are licenses that allow firms to cause pollution to a certain extent or certain degree. The government gives each business a license to pollute at a certain degree. Business sell their licenses to other businesses in case they have more licenses to cause pollution. In South Africa, marketable permits are granted by Department of Mineral and Energy. Then we continue to discuss measures that Reserve Bank can implement to reduce inflation in South Africa. So in this case, we talk about fiscal policy, monetary policy measures. That's when we refer to repo rate or repurchase rate. We talk about cash reserve requirement or reserve requirement ratio. We talk about open market transaction. We talk about moral suasion or credit control. So we know that if ever inflation is too high, Reserve Bank can intervene by increasing repo rate to ensure that commercial banks find it expensive to borrow money from the central bank, which will be spilling over to commercial banks, because as commercial banks are finding it expensive, when they take a loan from Reserve Bank, they will be paying more repo rate. Then also commercial bank will be charging high interest rate on their clients, such as the prime rate and other flexible interest rate. That will lead to loans becoming expensive in commercial banks for household or for their clients. Then the level of credit will be declining, money supply will decrease, and there will be less demand for goods and services. And then we know that this is always there to adjust the money supply, because it decreases money supply in the economy in case interest rates have been increased. Using open market transaction, that's when the Reserve Bank will be having the transaction between itself and commercial banks by selling bonds or government bonds or financial securities to commercial banks. As commercial banks are buying these bonds, they will be remaining with less money available. If less money is available, there will be less loans or less credit created in the economy, and then there will be less money supply in the economy. And then we continue. We are on now the credit creation, so moral suasion. Remember that the Reserve Bank is responsible to control commercial banks. It gives them instruction to behave in a manner that is most desirable for prevailing economic conditions. If ever there is too much inflation, the commercial banks are instructed by the Reserve Bank to tighten moral persuasion, to restrict credit creation, so that there will be less inflation and less money supply or less demand for goods and services. So if there's more money supply, we know that people are always tempted to spend. They spend the money they don't even have because of high level of credit creation. So the Reserve Bank must ensure that credit is not highly created. It tightens moral persuasion to reduce the credit, so that there will be less money supply, less lending, and less demand for goods and services. Increasing cash reserves. So in this case, we talk about creating vault money. Remember, cash reserve requirement or reserve requirement ratio. This is the ratio that commercial banks are obliged to keep in their reserve to prevent high level of liquidity. In that case, if ever the cash reserve increases maybe from 2.5 to 3.5, they will be increasing the vault money. What is vault money? Vault money is the money that is available but cannot be used. So that money is there for the commercial bank but cannot be used by a commercial bank because it's a part of the bank reserves. So if more money is being reserved or is put on reserves, that will lead to less money supply in the economy, and that will cool down inflation or demand for goods and services, and also lower inflation. Applying moral suasion has been mentioned to say that's when the Reserve Bank intervened by instructing commercial banks to tighten moral persuasion. There will be less credit creation, less demand for goods and services. And then we continue with the aid of graph. Briefly explain how prices are determined for an individual producer in the perfect market. Remember, under perfect market, the price is determined by the interaction of market forces, demand and supply within the industry or market. So these market forces will interact and determine the new price. Wherever they meet at the equilibrium, they determine the price. Then the firm will then be taking the price as it is. If the price was 80 here, and then the firm will be taking 80 as a price, because the firm is regarded to be a price taker. That's why we have perfect market having the horizontal demand curve. The market forces of demand and supply determine the price at OP1, which is OP1. And then the sellers are too significant to influence the market price. Hence, they take the price, so they are the price takers. Hence, you see that the price is OP1. Also, here is OP1. And then each individual producer is forced to sell his goods at the market price. No one can sell at his or her own price, but they sell at the market price, which is 80. And thus, the demand curve is flat or horizontal or perfectly elastic because the firm is the price taker. Remember, under perfect market, the firm does not have any influence over the price. The price is determined with the interaction of market forces, demand and supply within the market. The firm is the price taker. The firm only determine or decide on the output size to be produced at the given price within the market. Briefly discuss overt collusion and tacit collusion. Remember, if we talk about an overt collusion, we refer to what? We refer to the explicit collusion. And then tacit collusion, we refer to the implicit or what we call hidden collusion. So overt collusion. So this one is the what we call is more like cartel. Is the collusion that occurs because of formal agreement between businesses. Business will meet and discuss the price of production techniques, then they decide under the cartel. Remember, the cartel is an association between firms within the same industry where they discuss pricing and production techniques. Cartel is an association of oligopolies between that comes into existence in an industry with the specific aim of forming collective monopoly. Cartels control the production of goods, and this influences the price of products. So whenever firms are involved in cartel, each firm has a say over the price. So they make collective decisions because that's a part of collusion, which is known as an overt collusion or explicit collusion. Overt or explicit collusion pertains the formal agreement between businesses within the pure oligopoly to influence the price and production techniques to keep their profits high. The main aim is to ensure that they achieve high profits as they get themselves together under cartels and discuss price and production techniques that make what we call consumers to have less choices based on prices. That's why they compete over non-price competition strategies instead of the price, because they are avoiding price war. And then we continue the tacit collusion. Remember, this one is also known as implicit collusion as well as hidden collusion. It occurs because of the price leadership. The behavior of firms is motivated by an arrangement that is not formal. So there is no formal agreement whenever they collude in this case. But what happens? The price leader can decide to increase its own price, and then other firms will copy the price. Remember, what's a price leader? A price leader is the firm that is having at least more market share in the industry. It is also known as a dominant firm. However, remember, the price leader cannot always be guaranteed to be the firm with more market share. The price leader can also be the firm that is able to understand market forces or market signals very well than any other firm. The firm can be a smallest firm in the industry, but it's good on understanding the market signals. So it can be a price leader because firms will be copying its strategies or decisions whenever it's making some moves. So it can happen that the price leader is not the firm with the highest market share, but it is the firm that can understand much better the market signal than any other firm within the industry. Tacit or implicit collusion occurs through price leadership process. So price leadership occurs when a firm within oligopoly decide on its price of production techniques, then other firms will copy the strategy without any formal agreement or without any arrangement. That's why implicit collusion cannot be proven by anyone, because there is no proper discussion, there's no formal discussion. One firm will be copying another firm's strategy without any formal agreement. So we continue. It does not include any formal agreement between competitors. The market interdependence creates mutuality where competitors copy each other's profitable decisions. Price leaders are usually the strongest and most dominant businesses whose production cost is the lowest, but can also be the firms that understand market signals very well without sales dominance. And then here you are given the question, with the aid of graph production possibility curve, explain how productive and allocative inefficiencies can be achieved. Allocative efficiency. So remember, the question can also be about inefficiencies. So I will explain both here. This is the PPC where we produce two products. We have the product of a maize and then a product of a rice. Remember, these goods are satisfying the same nutrient and they are also substitutes for each other. So remember that if ever the firm is producing inside the PPC, this indicates allocative inefficiency. This means that resources are not used at the optimal level. they are underused. And then any point that is moving, that is along the PPC, point C, point B, these points are indicating that the firm have allocated resources adequately. However, the point B here indicates allocative efficient in there. That's where you come across that point intersecting to what we call indifferent curve. So point outside the PPC is not attainable or not achievable because the firm is having less resources to produce at point F, but the firm can only produce along the PPC or inside. Remember that if the firm is producing inside the PPC, it is allocative inefficient. If the firm is producing along, especially at point B, where it is in tangent with PPC, the firm is allocative efficient. And then points along the PPC indicate productive efficient. So the explanation, productive efficiency can be achieved if the firm produces at any point along the PPC. Point B, point C are productive efficient. Remember, our PPC is 80. And then that is any point between point A to point D. The firm is productive efficient. And then allocative efficiency can be achieved when IC is tangent to the PPC. When indifferent curve, which is IC, is tangent to the PPC. That is the point B. So in that case, the firm is allocative efficient. Resources that have been used at their optimum level. This occurs then point B in the graph. That is point B that is negating allocative efficiency. How can South African household contribute to a lower inflation rate? How can household contribute to lower inflation in a country? South African household contribute to a lower inflation by doing the following: saving a bigger portion of their income instead of spending, because as they save, there will be less demand for goods and services. And that will also create more capital formation for business, because if they save money in commercial banks, there will be more capital for commercial banks to give out as loans, which will be capital for businesses. Limiting luxurious spending on goods and services to their disposable income. Demanding wages which are in line with the current inflation rate, not demanding the highest level of wage that will be causing inflation even further. Increasing their productivity to ensure that the money they receive for the labor matches the income they receive. Remember, if ever labor productivity, if ever income per worker increases more than labor productivity, that will be causing inflation. But if ever labor productivity increases more than income per worker, that or wage per worker, that will be causing no inflation, because they produce more as they earn less, as for that average. Reduce the demand for loans and other forms of credit, so that there will be less demand for goods and services. Reduce industrial action that may reduce production of goods and services, meaning they must reduce the thing of bargaining or being involved in maybe protest for higher wages or whatever, because if they do that, that will be leading to less productivity and it will be pushing inflation. They must also avoid shoplifting, stealing from business, because business will always compensate themselves by increasing the selling price. And then how can the South African government ensure environmental sustainability? So in this case, we go straight to state intervention and state control, where they issue marketable permits to business to cause pollution to a certain extent, where they give environmental subsidies to businesses so that are willing to protect the environment. Those businesses that are using electric saving bulbs, those businesses that are recycling. Also, ensuring that awareness is created for the sake of the environment through education in the curriculum, and also implementing command and control policies. And then the government can intervene by imposing environmental taxes. So those are some strategies. Charging for the use of the environment, where producers are made to pay for fee for the waste. Whenever we are wasting in the environment, we have to pay some charges. Those are environmental charges. And then taxing the polluters on goods such as tires, which are associated with the pollution. Setting standard for the highest level of pollution that is allowed. And then subsidizing anti-pollution devices by encouraging making use of green technology during the production. Using marketable permits where businesses buy licenses to allow certain amount of pollution from production process. Granting property rights, which evokes the conservationist effect on people to take care of what belongs to them or to take care of the environment. And then, how does the government contribute to high inflation in South Africa? increasing government spending, we know that if ever the government increases its spending, there will be more income available or money flow, then there will be more demand for goods and services. So that will lead to demand increasing more than the supply. Spending on capital projects that are more than the economy's capacity. So when they spend on the project that will allow more multiplier and more income and more demand for goods and services. Increasing spending on social sector with an intention to reduce unemployment and poverty. Increasing borrowings with the aim to raise level of social grants and a rate of higher than inflation rate. Increasing borrowings with an aim to raise level of social grants. Okay, that one is a repeat. Decreasing direct taxes, which create high consumer demand. Also decreasing indirect tax that will result to selling prices decreasing and also resulting to what you call the greater demand, which might increase even faster, resulting to even inflation. Decreasing indirect taxes such as the company tax and custom duties. This leads to increasing production of and imports. And then how successfully has the government dealt with missing markets as consequence of market failure? Remember, if we talk of missing markets, we talk about the market of public goods and services that are not provided or produced by the private sector. If ever the private sector produces, it produces relatively less. Why? Because people are not willing to pay for them. So the government intervened by providing collective goods and community goods. Collective goods, remember, are provided by the government through user charges, while community goods are provided free of charge to the society to ensure that people are able to afford them. The government also intervened through what we call the merit goods. The government provides merit goods such as education and training, healthcare, as well as defense to the society because they are not willing to pay for those services, but they are highly desirable for social welfare. Providing public goods to citizens where markets cannot meet the demand for certain goods. Providing community goods, e.g. police services free of charge to all communities. Making sure that all members of the society have access to merit goods, e.g. education to uplift their standard of living. Supporting the community by charging excise tax on the consumption of demerit goods to discourage the use of those goods. Providing collective goods as an affordable fee to allow community to access such goods. And then how can the tourism industry alleviate poverty in South Africa? We know that if ever there's a high level of tourism industry, then people in the area will be employed because tourism is labor intensive with the highest all levels of labor, namely semi-skilled, non-skilled, and skilled labor. So people will be able to earn living. And then that will allow informal businesses to be created in those areas because there will be attractions around, such as accommodations, then people will be earning living. So prime tourist sites are located in rural areas where poverty is prevented, is prevalent and could employ local people for remuneration. Tourism is a fast and effective mechanism for distributing resources to rural and urban areas to develop them as tourist sites. Tourist development in rural areas increase the number of available jobs in areas where there are no jobs. So we know that most of attractions are in rural areas. So those people find themselves or get themselves an opportunity to be employed as tour guides or as people working in hotels or accommodations, working in restaurants, and also starting their informal businesses so that they can earn income. Some will be getting jobs. Tourism promotes the balance and the sustainable form of development because even infrastructure will be improved in the area, which will be improving the standard of living. Remember, infrastructure provided because of tourism benefit tourists and also benefit local people. So the main issue is that as tourism increases in the area, it can cause some environmental problem, also can cause increase in prices. Offers an opportunity for local residents to sell their product or services to tourists for an income. Why would monopoly always make an economic profit in the long run? We know that the monopoly is the only supplier of the product in the economy. So remember, the entry is completely blocked under the monopoly. So there's only one supplier. So that becomes the reason because it does not have any competitor. It has a patent or superior advantage in ownership of raw material. So if ever the business is owning a particular raw material through patents, no firm will be allowed to enter and compete with that particular firm, because the patent allow one firm to be that particular firm to be the only supplier of a product or the owner of a resource that is required to produce a particular product. A monopoly normally produces less than the market demand in order to sell their product at the higher price. We know that they always reduce output to increase their price for higher profits. If the firm makes a loss in the short run, it can always adjust prices too, so that it makes economic profit in the long run. And then monopolies enjoy larger economies of scale within which enable them to make profits even if they sell at the reduced price, because they're faced by what we call economies of scale. They produce at the lowest possible cost per unit, and it allows them to always enjoy the profit even if they sell at the lower cost. The existence of high barriers to entry prevent firms from entering the market even in the long run, allowing the monopoly to remain as the only supplier of a unique product without any close substitute that keep the profit high, because these goods that are produced by monopolies are very important for social welfare. For instance, we talk about electricity. We need it for survival. For that sake, then we have to buy electricity from Eskom. There are two ways. If we don't buy from Eskom, we go without electricity, or we try to find some alternative that might be too expensive for us. How can the market be a solution to reduction of greenhouse gases or emissions? We know that the market always see environment as a common resource, but it can also be a solution by using well-advanced technology that does not burn fossil fuel. They can also adapt to technology that is eco-friendly, avoiding to use those machines that are burning fossil fuel. So they can also avoid wasting material into lands, causing hazardous waste and chemical waste that can be wasted into land or running water. But instead, what can they do? They can recycle the used material. A market can use both renewable and non-renewable resources in a sustainable manner, avoiding to over-extract. It can invest on eco-friendly machines that are less harmful into the environment. And then it can also, a business can reuse, or they can reuse or recycle the used material, such as boxes, plastic and boxes, including chemicals, so that they won't be wasted into the environment, because that will result to a very dangerous waste. And then the burning of fossil fuel can be reduced in the automotive market by investing in electronic vehicles. And then now we go to section C. Let's see what we have in section C for you. So we give a list of essays that are possible for you, and then we have question 5 and question 6. Remember, question 5 is macroeconomics, and then question 6 is economic issues. So the first one will be discussing detailed various equilibrium positions with the aid of graphs under perfect market. In that case, you must be able to draw those graphs, 3 of them, and explain. First, the important thing, you explain the condition for the economic profit, and then you draw the graph, you interpret the graph. Economic loss for the perfect market, explain the condition, draw the graph, explain the graph, or interpret the graph. Normal profit, do the same. That's how you answer the question in this kind of. And then discuss monopoly in detail with or without graph. So the examiner can ask you to discuss monopoly in a form of characteristic or market structure, or the examiner can ask you to discuss monopoly with the aid of graphs, where you discuss equilibrium positions for the firm. Examine the oligopoly in detail. Mostly, they require interdependence of oligopoly, or the behavior of oligopoly, or characteristics themselves. It is very important that you know all characteristics for the oligopoly. Compare and contrast any 2 types of market structures, perfect or imperfect. So in this case, that's why you will be comparing either monopoly to the perfect, perfect to the monopolistic, monopolistic to the oligopoly, etc. You must be able to answer if you have to discuss market structures. Discuss in detail how the following factors, reasons for market failure, lead to misallocation of resources. In this case, we'll be discussing reasons for the market failure, such as missing market externalities. We talk about immobility factors of correction. We talk about imperfect market structure, etc. You must be able to discuss this in detail. Discussing detailed state intervention as a consequence of market failure. So with or without graphs. Remember, in this case, they can say discuss with the aid of graphs, and they can say discuss without using graphs. In this essay, you will be discussing the likes of, we talk about minimum wages, we talk about maximum price, minimum prices, subsidies, taxes, and then also involvement of government in production. And then we talk about the government setting some policies in the as for imperfect market structure not to function easily. And then That's how those are some subheadings you have to discuss on as you discuss this essay, where you discuss consequences of market failure as a state intervention. If they say with the aid of graphs, that means you discuss the minimum wage, you draw the graph, you interpret the graph. Discuss maximum price, draw the graph, interpret the graph, up to infinite, depending on what has been required for you to discuss. And then economic issues here. Let's see, discussing detailed consequences of inflation. So this is one of those essays you discuss consequences of inflation, maybe to borrowers and savers, to debtors and creditors, borrowers and savers, investors, psychological effect, industrial peace, poverty, and unemployment. You know that you have it in your exam guideline, textbooks, and notes. And then discussing detailed measures to combat inflation, or to combat demand pull inflation or cost push inflation. That's why you deal with the monetary measures, fiscal measures, and other measures that will be including increasing productivity, improving supply side policies such as human resource development, the exchange rate policy, ensuring that the currency is controlled to avoid it depreciating because cost of production also increases, etc. And then examining detailed effects of tourism to household, to businesses, to the economic growth, or to the government. And then examine detailed benefits of tourism to the household, to the government, to infrastructure development, etc. You came across this essay in your examination for the prelim paper 2. Discuss in detail how the government can ensure sustainable development. That's why you talk about the likes of marketable payments being given, property rights, environmental taxes, environmental subsidies, and then you talk about education, you talk about the command and control policies, etc. Discuss in detail the following problems and the internal measures taken to ensure sustainable development. In this case, you talk about the loss of biodiversity, we talk about the hazardous waste, you talk about chemical waste, loss of indigenous knowledge, you talk about also the climate change. That's what we will be discussing here, focusing also on international agreements such as Rio 5, Rio de Janeiro, Basel Convention, Stockholm Conference, COP17, COP22, COP27, environmental summit, Johannesburg Summit, etc. So compare and contrast market structures. So in this case, the whole market structure is provided as an example in the next structure. It is very important for you to be able to deal with this. If they say compare and contrast maybe perfect market to monopoly, you know under perfect market there are many sellers, there's one seller. You must be able to discuss that also. Homogeneous product, heterogeneous product. You must be able to discuss those two things also. Price taker, price setter. So if you are given a chance to discuss compare and contrast what we call market structures, this is the way to go. You simply compare according to the table given to you. So ensure that you know the table for comparison, be able to discuss those subheadings. Remember, as for the market structure, you don't just say in the subheading there are many sellers. You say a number of sellers, and then you answer there are many sellers who provide reasons, and then there is one seller provide reasons. Nature of products under perfect market, you tell us the individual firm sell homogeneous product, explain those homogeneous products, and then under monopoly, individual firm produce what we call unique or heterogeneous product, explain the heterogeneous product. But then the structure was number of nature of product, meaning your subheadings, these should be your subheadings on the structure. But if we are dealing with characteristics, you will be saying there are many sellers, then explain that. Those will be characteristics. But if we have to deal with the structure, you only focus on the structure. These should be your subheadings. They will be credited as they are in this case. Then you explain it to get marks. But if they say discussing detail characteristics, that simply means now you won't be using the structure. You will be saying there are many sellers. Then you explain that. And then the firm offers homogeneous product. You explain that. You must know the difference of explaining the structure or when you explain or discuss using characteristics. And then example of an essay section C, examine in detail benefits of tourism. And then evaluate the South African government policies to promote tourism. This is just an example of an essay you can look at. You came across benefits of tourism in your prelim, and what we noticed as markers, you did very well in that essay. We define tourism here. Tourism occurs when individuals travel from their usual basis to unusual basis for the period of not more than 1 year for different reasons. Any other good introduction and correct will be awarded marks. And then South Africa benefit directly from tourism because of growth in the GDP, employment creation, infrastructure development, and welfare gain. All economic stakeholders are beneficiaries of growth of tourism industry. Tourism spend money as they travel. Tourists spend money as they travel. This become a greater motive to businesses to produce even more goods and services. Infrastructure projects are created through public-private partnership, which also benefit business because they partner with the government. Tax revenues, employment created by the tourism, improve social and economic welfare. Remember, if ever there's increase in tourism, there will be even more tax revenue to the government. There will be more job creation, which will be improving the welfare of the economy. How do households benefit? So we know that tourism is labor intensive. It employs all levels of skill, namely skilled, semi-skilled, and non-skilled labor. Households get direct jobs through tourism in hotel and accommodation. They can also be employed as for infrastructure development under construction, and also self-employment. Also, they can be employed as tour guides. So that also create a benefit to the household. This generate income for household and contribute to positive to the increase in demand. Remember, as they have more income, they demand more goods and services. We continue the household. Most of the infrastructure created for tourists will also benefit our households because it's mainly for tourists and also for local people. For instance, stadium that we built for World Cup in 2010 are remaining for us as South Africans now. We are benefiting from it. Tourism is a great mechanism for skill development. We know that people are employed without skills, but when they get there to work, they get training on ongoing training, then they become more skilled because of tourism. It requires variety of skill, for which education and training is needed. Local people acquire variety of skills, which include entrepreneurial skills. They can start their own businesses, conservation and preservation skills. They can be able to conserve and preserve environment, martial or tour guides skills, etc. Income earned by household in tourism industry reduces the level of poverty and improve the standard of living. Then we continue to the business. How do they benefit? Remember that infrastructure becomes the critical facility that benefit both the tourists as well as our businesses. Our business can benefit from availability of infrastructure because they find it easy to produce goods and services. Superstructure consists of business that provide accommodation, transport, build attraction, retailing, and recreation services. This superstructure becomes a source of profit for businesses. Business benefit through public-private partnership as they get together with the government to do some duties for the government at the benefit through income. The public sector provides a range of financial incentive for private sector tourism investment, which include subsidies, loans, and tax concessions. Because as they are involved in tourism, they are also conserving environment and also preservative businesses. Tourism stimulates the business environment and help achieve social economic objectives such as development of the entrepreneurs, B and SMMEs. They simply qualify and get this benefit. Tourism also offers entrepreneurial opportunities in the informal sector because people can get a chance to start their own informal business in those areas. Local producers are well marketed internationally since their goods will be getting international exposure because of the tourism. The direct spending by tourists is a great motive to business to produce even more goods and services. This will be increasing their profits. And then we check the government. How does the government benefit? So the spending by tourists will always increase tax revenues that are received by the government that can be used to redistribute income and wealth. Levying taxes help the government to recover external costs and increase revenues. And then also tourism earns the country the foreign currencies, especially if ever we come across inbound tourism. So they will be earning more foreign currency. Job created by tourism industry in both formal and informal sector is the burden on the government to be fully involved to provide public goods and services, and also to give transfers to people because they will be employed. And the government can achieve full employment as its primary macroeconomic objective. Tourism serves as a motive for government to increase infrastructure development. So there will be more infrastructure being improved because of tourism industry. Like I spoke about the improvement of infrastructure during 2010 World Cup. That remains for us. So we are known as a good country in terms of a part of the infrastructure because of the tourism industry, which was some international events. Infrastructure. Adequate and well-maintained physical infrastructure is essential for tourism destinations. So infrastructure will be well-maintained because some other places are tourism destinations. The infrastructure is normally shared between residents and visitors. So this infrastructure benefits both local people and tourists. The government has prioritized economic infrastructure, including elements such as harbors, the beaches, lake access, to promote growth in tourism, because it also contributes much in economic growth of the country. Most corridors have tourism as an important focus area. Public-private partnerships are often used for development of infrastructure. That gives you 26 marks. And then let's look at additional part. Evaluate the South African government policies to promote tourism. The success factors. Government policies have been successful by implementing tax policies to stimulate growth in tourism, targeting specific objectives for specific favorable tax treatment in the form of tax holidays or rebates and tax credit schemes, promoting tourism through ASGISA Accelerated Growth Initiative for South Africa. This initiative ensures that government, in partnership with the private sector, provide the necessary infrastructure for tourism that help to keep the tourism industry growing and attracted more tourists. And then still continue, government policies have been successful because or by encouraging ecotourism, encouraging tourism to selected regions, SMME's involvement with an emphasis on the informal sector and Black empowerment initiatives, applying the domestic tourism growth strategy that aimed at increasing expenditure on domestic tourism and reduce seasonal fluctuations. And then we continue. Launching the SA Tourism short-lived campaign in August 2007, challenging South Africans to see your world differently, even when only visiting family or friends. It aims to promote the culture of local holiday travel, targeting ordinary South Africans and their families who have a desire to see more of the country but don't know where to go. And then the part where the government can improve. Special tax policies are applied to education and training programs designed to overcome the lack of skills and various levels of the industry. There is a greater geographic spread of tourism, which will increase the volume of domestic tourists. Destinations are spread across rural communities to make the most beneficiaries while making use of their unused land. That is for 10 marks. Then you go to your conclusion, which should be the higher order response. Let's see the example. The state intervention to join forces with the private sector can fasten the growth in tourism industry and widens benefit to all stakeholders. The great success can be seen if tourism can be the main tool to uplift economies of neglected communities. That is for 2 marks. Any other higher order response can be credited. And then that worth 40 marks. Then you have your worksheet for economics here that you can be able to access it. The worksheet consists of all of these questions that we have embedded here, we have attached here, and then solutions will be memorandum of these questions. And then after all, I thank you, and I believe this lesson will have a great benefit to you as you prepare for your examination. Remember that examination is just around. On the 31st of October, we are writing your paper 1, so you must be ready. And on the 7th of November, you are writing your paper 2. Mind the following. You will be fine for paper 1 because you only have your English file written on the 30th. However, for paper 2, on the 3rd, we are writing your maths, technical maths. And then on the 6th, we are writing your maths again, maths, technical maths. So in that case, that means you don't have enough time to study for paper 2. It is very important for you to assemble your study together. Do paper 1 and paper 2. As you go to the 31st for paper 1, we are also ready for paper 2 because you cannot overcome the situation the way it is if you don't prepare twice. Remember, you have a weekend, which is the 4th and 5th of November, where you will be doing your maths and maths lit, including technical maths. That means there will be no enough time for you to prepare for paper 2. So you just have to ensure that you study efficiently now. Push your studies now because maths will be affecting your preparation for economics. For that being said, I thank you, and I believe what I just said will assist you as you prepare for your examination.